Hi, my name is Cate, and I teach psychopathology. Psychopathology is abnormal psychology, and when we study abnormal psychology, we're primarily focused on psychological disorders. Some of the main topics covered in psychopathology is, first of all, we look at the history of psychological disorders, going all the way back to the early Greeks. So that's the first thing we cover. Then we look at mental health and the law, and we look at how different legal factors come into play when an individual struggles with a psychological disorder. And then we move into the DSM chapters. So we'll focus 1 week on mood disorders, another week on anxiety disorders, and work our way through the DSM. What students, I hope, get out of psychopathology is a real sense of what it's like to work in a clinical setting on a clinical team. So very much this is an applied course as well. And so we really want to bring the DSM to life for students. So when we're working on the section, for instance, on anxiety disorders, the last half of class, we're going to be working on a case study, and students will be assigned into teams. And so they'll be given a case study. Their job is to read through the case study, get a sense of the history of the individual, the nature of their struggles, provide some form of conceptualization or explanation, and use the DSM to identify which psychological disorder the individual may be struggling with. And then we have a larger class discussion, and we look at the differences that different teams have come up with and what might be the reason for that. So, what else students get out of the course is that they learn how to apply and use the DSM, and they also learn how challenging it is to understand an individual who's presenting with a set of symptoms, how complex and how unique each of us is. And it gives, I think, a flavor for the challenges that clinicians in the field face when they're doing their work. A couple central principles or ideas that I really like to emphasize in this course is the complexity of human experience. Too often beginners in the helping field come into the role armed with their DSM and prepared to slap a label on something. And we really have to be very thorough as we can be in understanding the individual's presentation. And we also have to be prepared, and this comes up in the field a lot, we have to be prepared that even though we may have conceptualized the individual's struggle in a particular way, if new information comes in that disputes our conceptualization, we have to be prepared to start over again. So we can't be too attached to our opinion, perception, conceptualization. We are looking at individuals, over the course of their lifespan in a particular context, both in the present and the past, within the unique life experience and individual biology. So there are lots of variables and factors operating. So it's very complex, and that's one principle I think I really do emphasize a lot. It's quite straightforward, actually. So we have a midterm that's based on 7 of our chapters in the textbook. And then rather than a final exam, students write a major paper. And they write the major paper on a topic of interest to them within the course content. So this has worked out very well in psychopathology because, of course, different students have different areas of interest within the course content. And the other thing is we've had some really strong papers come out of the course, some of which have ended up in our Journal of Psychological Research at Camosun, have come from our 250 course. Well, I've been working as a clinical counselor since 1996. I spent my first 8 years working as a counselor doing community work. And again, I really enjoy the work. I've worked in urgent response, I've been a family therapist at adult mental health counseling services, I've run treatment groups, I've worked at youth forensic psychiatric services with violent offending youth. I really enjoy working in clinical counseling. And so teaching psychopathology is an opportunity to share some of that excitement and some stories from the field, and also to be part of students' beginning of their journey within the field. It's really fun for me to be working with students who are beginning their educational and career journey.